I got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's a guy that says if the weather's clear, can do.
Hello racing fans, and welcome back to another special edition of Handicapper's Corner, brought to you by the Derby Bar and Grill. I'm Mike Keds, along with Drew Forster. We're going to go through day number 2 of the Breeders' Cup. This is the Saturday, November 3rd races, which do kick off at 9 in the morning. We're going to look at races 3 through 11, so we're going to have 9 races to look at on the Saturday program.
Yep.
Once again, likely sloppy conditions, but we'll see, and wet, yielding or soft turf for the day's cards. Let's get right into the action. Race number 3 is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint.
A bunch in here.
Yes, 7 furlongs will be the distance, and I've got the 8 horse in here, Mia Mischief, who is a fast filly out of the Steve Asmussen barn. Has really done well at Churchill too, and I thought this filly was worth following. There is some other speed in here. The 11 Finley's Lucky Charm, the 3 Happy Like a Fool has some speed. The 1 horse Selcourt, who hasn't been seen since March though, and the 12 Anonymity for Richard Mandela has some speed. But I thought Mia Mischief was just really quick, and she showed it last time at Saratoga. But Saratoga's a tough track to carry your speed all the way when you go a half and 44 and 4. Yeah. And I know she's going a little farther this time, but I thought her race prior to that in the Grade 1 test was very good. I saw her speed, 14-horse field, out of trouble, that she is, going to lead for a long ways, and they got to come and catch her. And once again, it's kind of her home course as well. I put the 14-horse Shamrock Rose in for second. Pretty impressed with her win a couple of weeks back. She's had 3 impressive wins, proved that she wasn't just a poly or an all-weather track horse by winning at Keeneland, and sources up close to that fast pace and still managed to run off at the end. And I like the outside draw for her, and I put the 13 Marley's Freedom in for third. I don't know what she's beating out in California, but definitely the Saratoga race was very good, defeating Still There and Lewis Bay, who was injured in that race, who was the Chad Brown runner. But still, she was impressive in winning. Mike Smith re-rides. You're not getting a lot of value here, but still you're going to get a pretty nice horse. Nice filly by Blame. I got to put her in for third. I went 8, 14, and 13 in what I think is a pretty wide open sprint.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. I actually went to Marley's Freedom just because I like her in the 13 post, because all the speeds are inside, and she can sit just behind the speed. I mean, perfect kind of horse for Mike Smith. Just in these races, it can get crazy up front, and I like a horse that's going to come off the pace, and I like a horse that's coming out of the Baffert barn that's won 4 in a row with Mike Smith aboard. A lot of things to like.
Not a bad thing to take.
Yeah, a lot of things to like about Marley's Freedom. I got her on top. I put Selcourt. I know, as you mentioned, she hasn't run since March, but she's been training very well. Just been ultra impressive in all of her races.
She beat Marley's Freedom last time.
Yeah, exactly. Back in March. 6 starts, 4 wins with a second and a third. Broke her maiden by 9. She's winning stakes by 7. Won the Grade 2 Santa Monica last time we saw her by 4 1/4. Just was on a roll. Has had some time off. John Sadler can be very good off the layoff, 20% off the layoff, and been training well. That final work in 1 minute and 2/5 should be good under Tyler Bays. And I agree with your top horse. I have her in there, Mia Mischief, the Asmussen runner, who's quick, and she will be part of that pace scenario under Rico Santana, as you mentioned, and could probably, as you mentioned, could be the toughest of the front end horses here.
She's going to go a long way.
She can fight him off. I went 13.
Especially sloppy or something.
Yeah, exactly. In the slop, she could be even tougher. 13, 1, and 8 for me in the Filly and Mare Sprint. On the Turf Sprint, going 5.5. 3 and up Colts and Geldings. Big fields in here. It takes
5
me a while.
pages worth.
Yeah, exactly. It takes me a while to spread these out. I went to a horse I watched last time I was really impressed with. Really cool horse. 6-year-old, number 5, Disco Partner for Christophe Clement, Jose Rosario rides. Had a little break. Was running good, then he ran third. His buyers were kind of declining. They gave him about 6 weeks, 2 months off. Came back in that race at Belmont, 6 furlongs on the turf, and just ran away from them, getting 106 buyer. And Disco Partner seems to be coming in, firing on all cylinders. Rosario rides. He's favored almost every time he runs, so you're not going to get a big price on him. But I got Disco Partner on top. Of the 7, Lost Treasure, the Aidan O'Brien horse coming over here. Ryan Moore rides, as we mentioned. These Aidan O'Brien horses are going to be very tough, especially in the turf races. And, this is another one that's running very good over there. you know, second beat a nose, 8 starts, 3 wins, 5 of 8 lifetime in the money, and Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. Don't leave him out. He's going to be a bit of a price, but he's a war front. They're great on the turf. Lost treasure for me in the second spot. And I put Stormy Liberal, the Peter Miller trainee in here, Drayden Van Dyke aboard, won 3 in a row. Another very quick horse. Very good just off the pace horse on the turf, and he's got buyers. His last 3 buyers are all in triple digits, and Peter Miller, very dangerous at all times, and he could, another guy that could have a big weekend. I went 5, 7, and 9.
Yeah, tough race. It is,
Yeah.
I really had trouble with this race. There isn't a ton of speed in the race. Like usually going 5.5 on the turf, you have like
All
6
gas. Yeah.
speed, like absolute break. You know, as soon as the gates are open, these horses are gone with their tails are on fire. And but that isn't the case in this race. I think this race is really weak, void of speed. I like the 11 horse, World of Trouble.
Yeah.
And this horse, a 3-year-old going against older for Jason Service. Ira Ortiz, ironically, you know, had ridden your disco partner 11 of its last 12 times, and he surfaces on World of Trouble, who he did win on at Saratoga over a yielding course. That was his Just briefly summarizing his career, he started off, you know, he broke his maiden for 25, won by 14 lengths. Then he came back and got beat.
We just missed the claim that day, Mike. We missed that.
We missed it. Then came back in a Florida bred stake for Kathleen O'Connell and just got beat. Was purchased privately. Went to the Jason Service barn. They tried to make maybe a Derby horse out of him as he won the Pasco by 13, and then they tried him in the Tampa Bay Derby. It didn't work. Then they ran him gave him a little freshening. He ran at Belmont, going 7/8. He got cooked 21-2, 43-3. That was his last dirt race, and he still hung on well in that 7 furlong race. Then he ran to the turf. He's undefeated on turf now. Irad rode him in the quick call. The Allied Force, Irad was out of town that day, and Manny Franco picked up the mount, but the horse just crushed the field over a good turf course. So once again, he's another one that's been on kind of soft ground, and he's one of the only speed in here, other than the 14 Conquest Tsunami, who I did put in for second, shortening up to 5.5 after he got caught by Stormy Liberal going 6.5. He gets caught quite often going 6 or 6.5, and but I like the outside post, Flavien Prat. I thought these two are the controlling speed. I just looked up, and there's a couple of mares in here. They don't have speed, Ruby Notion and Chatelaine. The Euros don't have speed. The balance of the field are kind of stalkers, and I just thought the 11 and 14
Yeah, you don't
get
see that
good
very often
trips.
going 5.5.
No. So, and I put the 13, Will Call in for third. A long shot just wanted to toss in. He just got beat last time after having a tough trip at Keeneland. He's beaten a lot of these before in the past, and I thought he was worth a look coming from off of it for very hot Brad Cox stable. I went 11, 14, and they just don't get those every day. 11, 14, and 13.
Those are your numbers.
In the Breeders' Cup Turf Spread. On to the 5th race, the Breeders' Cup Mile. This is the Dirt Mile.
Yep.
Got a field of 10. It's a 1-turn race, which I think favors the 10 horse, the favorite Catalina Cruiser. This horse has just been so impressive. He's been running up the score in his Grade 2 runs at Del Mar, and he's been working well. John Sadler's gone on record saying we haven't even scratched the surface with him. He's just a nice colt that is really, really gifted. Not a lot of speed in this race. Catalina Cruiser should be on or near the lead. The 1-horse City of Light will probably have to send from the inside post with Javier Castellano. That one's live too. I threw the 7-horse in for second, Ferenz Fire. What a versatile horse. He won the Dwyer in 133-3. The track was really fast at Belmont in the summer. Went to Saratoga going 7/8. Ran a good third to a horse I liked in the sprint, Promises Fulfilled. And then ran going 6 in the Gallant Bob. Distances kept getting shorter, and the horse won a big race on Pennsylvania Derby Day. So this horse has got a lot of versatility, but I think the mile is his best distance, and I think if the 1 and 10 hook up, the 7 would be the next one. But I did go 10, 7, 1, with honorable mention to the 6 horse owned by Seeking the Soul, owned by Chuck Fipke. Of course, lives in Kelowna. Having a good shot here. Did win the Grade 3 ACAC in his last start. I went 10, 7, 1.
I got similar horses. I agree. Catalina Cruiser just looks...
Wow.
It looks awfully tough here.
Visually impressive, too, in his races. Like, this horse is this big, powerful chestnut that just looks the part.
He's going to the lead. He's setting good fractions, and nobody nobody can keep up with him, and he just gets further. He just gets further away from him. So yeah, Catalina Cruiser could be a single on the day for me. Catalina Cruiser. I got City Light in the second spot. Horse you touched on, just always shows up. 9 starts, 9 in the money, 4 wins, 4 seconds, and a third. Just really cool. It's on a Quality Road. What a year Quality Road is having. Castellano aboard. A lot to like. City Light. And the one you just touched on, I put in third. So Seeking the Soul, the Dallas Stewart, Chuck Fipke horse. Another one that I think like a mile seems to be perfect for him. Gets going a little farther, and like going a mile and 70. And that race at Indiana gets beat ahead. One would go a mile and 1/8. One going a mile 16. But I think a mile is perfect for him. And that little last race at ACAC, the Grade 3 at Churchill, just down the road. Or no, not just down the road, at Churchill. He's 8, 3, 1, and 2 at Churchill, but he's got a little confidence booster at Churchill, and I really like Brian Hernandez aboard. I went 10, 1, and 6 in the dirt mile. On to the 6th, the filly in Mare Turf, going a mile and 3/8. Another big field.
5 more pages.
5 more pages.
Oh, these Europeans, they take up about 5 inches of
Yeah, I know. They got a lot of form around them here. Aidan O'Brien, my man, I'm back to him. Number 10, Magic Wand, 3-year-old daughter of Galileo. You know, when they bring these horses over here, they are coming here for a reason. Coming off a good second in a 16-horse field behind Wild Illusion. But Aidan O'Brien, he's deadly in the Breeders' Cup, especially on the turf. Ryan Moorlands on this one. It's my go-to. Magic Wand for me. Over the 6, Sister Charlie, another Irish horse. Interesting horse that was running in Europe, came over here, and since landing in the Chad Brown barn over here has just been almost perfect. Second beating Necker, first start in a Grade 1 at Belmont. Wins a Grade 1 at Keeneland. These are all on the turf, mind you. Second ahead in a Grade 2 at Belmont. Won a Grade 1, the Diana at Saratoga. Won recently the Beverly D at Arlington. Just been on fire since arriving here. She's obviously got a fair bit of talent. She's a 4-year-old. Another one, great record. 10 starts, 6 wins, 3 seconds. Should like Churchill. You know, she's been running very well over here. John Velasquez aboard, and another one with a nice closing style. Sister Charlie for me in the second spot. And I put the 3, Wild Illusion, another European horse, coming off a nice win, going a mile and a quarter at Longchamp in France last time. 16-horse field. That was a Group 1. She's actually won 2 Group 1s in a row, one in Great Britain, one in France. She's here with a big shot under, what's the guy's name? William Buick. He's won Breeders' Cup races in the past. He's always very tough. I went 10, 6, and 3.
Yeah, I went to the 3, a Wild Illusion with William Buick. Nice win over Magic Wand last time. You know, excellent prep prior to that. Nice win in another Group 1 race at Goodwood. I did lose to Magic Wand at Ascot, but this horse is obviously going the right way right now, and for Godolphin, and this horse is, I think, very alive. I put the Chad Brown horses in behind the 1, 4-star Crook, who I just took that one over the other. Chad's got 5 in here.
Yeah,
he's got 5 runners. Over the 1 and 6, it looked like his 2 best ones. But 4-star Crook at least has a race since the Beverly D. And I know Irad Ortiz would like to re-ride the Beverly D. He was up close early. He ended up letting the horse slip back behind Sister Charlie, who got first run on her in the Beverly D, and it cost her, you know, as she couldn't get up and win it. But I think this horse will be, and once again, that horse hasn't run since the Beverly D at Arlington, where 4-star Crook has, and did it nicely on a good track at Belmont at a mile and a quarter. So I went 3, 1, and 6, but I can see your 10-horse Magic Wand. I don't think
Aidan O'Brien.
You know, you never want to leave the guy out. He's just amazing. 3, 1, 6 for me in the filly and mare Turf. On the 7th race, the Breeders' Cup Sprint, Dirt Sprint. We're going 6 furlongs here. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the horses, Ferenz Fire, had run against the 2-horse Promises Fulfilled, and that's what I'm going to go to. I do like this horse in the sprint. He's the inside speed. Once again, there's a sprint here that doesn't have a lot of speed in it. The 2, the 5, and that's about it. And the rest of them kind of lay close. The 7 will be close, but he's not wild speed. Roy H is kind of a stalker. Limousine Liberal is also kind of a stalker. Promises Fulfilled is an absolute go to the front. Crazy horse that can carry its speed. They tried to make a Derby horse out of him earlier this year. They finally halted that experiment, and since they freshened him up, went to Saratoga, he's been a perfect 3 for 3 in sprints, and ranging from 6 to 7 furlongs, and nice inside draw. Loves Churchill. speed should carry. Should do well over a sloppy if it's going to be sloppy. The 5-horse Imperial Hint, probably the most talented horse in the race. Definitely has the best numbers. 4 for 5 this year. Really easy win at the Vosburg. There wasn't anything in the race. Mr. Crow and Silver Rider, just okay horses. But he did win, get geared down in 108 and 1. But he's a nice horse that's coming into the race fresh. And the 9-horse, the best California horse, I think. Paco Lopez aboard Roy H. for Peter Miller. Nice win in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. And that would be my next horse. I went 2, 5, and 9.
I went to the 9 Roy H. Won this race 2 years ago at Del Mar. Last year at Del Mar. Has had kind of a spotty form a little bit this year. Went over to Meydan, ran 3rd.
That Dubai trip gets a lot of them. That'll wreck a summer, I'll tell you that,
exactly.
when you go over there for the big money.
And then came back 2nd to the Bing Crosby, but I think the last one at Santa Anita gets him right back on form. 105. Ultimately cool horse, 8 wins, just a really classy old horse, and I'm maybe betting with my heart a little bit here, but I really like Roy H. I got him on top of your other 2. Promises Fulfilled. Dale Romans has been on fire lately too. That's another check mark for Promises Fulfilled. Everything that Dale Roman's been running lately has been running lights out. Had a great Keeneland meet, and Louis Saez definitely knows what he's doing on this guy. And Imperial Hint, another one that you touched on. Look at his buyers. It's like he's never under 100. It seems.
92 is his most disgusting buyer.
92.
His last 10 starts.
Terrible, and it wasn't a win. I got the same horses, Mike. Different order: 9, 2, and 5 for me in the sprint. On to the 8th. The mile on the turf.
Yeah, Turf Mile.
The Turf Mile, another good horse. I'm sure I went to.
Yeah, we got 6 pages.
Yeah,
we do have a scratch.
one.
Number 9, Hunt is scratched. Number 15, Divisadero gets in. 9 is out. 15 gets in. We're waiting for the 9 is definitely out though, and the 15 is the first one that has dibs. We won't scratch the 16 Clemmy yet. There could be another scratch by the time races come. That morning.
I went against my normal kind of.
You must have went to an American.
No, I went to Aidan O'Brien,
okay.
but I mean Gustav Klimt, who I think you picked.
Yeah.
That's one Ryan Moore lands on. I like I Can Fly, son of Fastnet Rocket, daughter actually. Coming off a good second, the Queen Elizabeth at Ascot. Just a good record. Seems to be the now horse of the O'Brien ones. I just like the way she's running right now, and a good style. I think she can win this, and you're going to get a bit of a price on her in here.
And Jamie Spencer's a good rider too.
Yeah, and another guy's had a lot of success with Aidan O'Brien over the years, and Aidan O'Brien has a few in here. Gustav Klimt was the one I was leaning towards, but I went to the girl, I Can Fly, in the top spot. I went to the one Master. Another filly, another European. 4 wins from 8 starts, coming off a nice win at Longchamp. You know, that's the thing too that the European horses have an advantage over is they're running in big fields over there all the time, right? They're running in 16-horse fields.
And we get in a lot of cushy 5, 6, and 7-horse fields where you get a good trip all the time.
It's a lot different.
Comfortable trip.
Yeah, exactly.
These guys are getting bounced around and shuffled back.
And they all seem to come from off it, so they got to weave their way through traffic and that. That's what leads me to the Euros in these races. I got one Master in second, and I put American horse Next Shares. Tyler Gaffleone is riding as good as anybody in North America right now. Another guy who just had a great Keeneland meet, and he re-rides Next Shares for Richard Baltus, coming off a nice win over a track rated as good, soft turf at Keeneland in the Shadwell Turf Mile. Got 106 buyer, 1 by 3. That horse is live in here. A lot of the morning lines I'm not sure about quite yet because I wouldn't imagine Next Share is going to be 10 to 1. I went 8, 1, and 2.
Yeah, a very difficult race, and the Europeans generally do quite well in this race, and I've gone to the 13 Gustav Klimt for Aidan O'Brien.
That one could come back to haunt me because I had a long look.
This horse, I watched the Prix de la Forêt at Longchamp, and the horse had no racing room the last 8th. It was in between horses, never got clear. The horse was just an unlucky force. It's one of those trips where one Master got the jump and got clear, and the filly beat him that day. But he's a good quality Group 1 horse, and he's shown it in the past. I know he's only won the one race, but once again, they kind of treat those races as workouts, and they prep them until finally you get to the big races. But he was ready to run last time, and he should have won. He was unfortunate, unlucky loser. I went to 13 Gustav Klimt over the 5-horse Oscar Performance. Not a lot of speed in here. I don't, the Euros it's a little tough, but to find out whether they're fast or not. But Oscar Performance is going to be on or near the lead. The 12 Analyze it's going to be on or near the lead, and that's about it. And Oscar Performance has shown he can run some big numbers when he's on or near a slow pace, and that could happen. But, he's a little sketchy on soft turf, but he did win the Pilgrim as a 2-year-old a couple of years back at Belmont, still on form there. But I put him in for second, and I put the 7-horse Expert Eye for Frankie Dettori, Sir Michael Stoot. Good third last time in the Prix de Moulin, which is always one of the top French races, French mile races. And prior to that, he'd been running 2 good wins, sandwiched around a loss to second to Lightning Spear. But he's a nice horse for Juddmonte, and I think he's pretty live. And Juddmonte's first call rider is Frankie Dettori, and that's why he's on the horse. I went 13, 5, and 7.
I'll be going deep in
honorable
this one.
mention to the 14 Moustacherie for William Buick, 3 for 4 this year. Tough post. But I thought of the Sir Michael Stout horses, the 7 might be better. And Analyze it might not like the Keeneland track last time. I know there's a lot of chances in here.
I'll be going deep in that one.
13, 5, and 7 for me in the Turf Mile. On to the 9th race. This is the Breeders' Cup Distaff for the fillies and mares, going a mile and an eighth. And the Monomoy Girl, it's tough to get by her. She was unlucky and got disqualified in Pennsylvania in the Cotillion. Should have been disqualified. Kind of impeded Midnight. Kind of herded out Midnight Basoo, and you don't see disqualifications in $1 million races very often, but she was removed from the first spot. But there's no speed. I didn't see a lot of speed in here at all. I got Valladori, and that's about it. I mean, she can sit on the outside of Valladori. This horse is going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah.
And I think Monomoy Girl, 2-1. It's not a great price. But Abel Tasman, I don't know what Abel Tasman is going to show up. She seems to throw in one of those clunkers once in a while. She was bet off the board and made for great show prices that day.
Yeah, it scared me off of her that last race.
I think Valladori paid 22 to win and about 70 to show that day because all the show money was on Abel Tasman. But she's, it's hard to love her. You got to play her.
You have to have her in.
You got no price,
and
you got to look at that last race at Santa Anita, and I don't know what happened.
It's a head scratcher.
Yeah, but you got to have her in. And I put the 7-horse Midnight Basoo for the Bloom Ridge. Our buddy Jeff Bloom, who used to ride her. Yep. He's one of the secretaries, or one of the owners, definitely, of Bloom Racing Stable. And they got Steve Asmussen trading the horse now, and the horse has been very good since heading back east, and looks pretty good again in here. Definitely one of the players. But Monomoy Girl for me, I went 11, 2, and 7.
I got the same horses. I mean, those look like the 3 with the question mark that is Abel Tasman. But for me, Monomoy Girl, I mean, she got beat at neck. He's back in the Golden Rod. Her last start last year as a 2-year-old, gets beat at neck, and basically undefeated the rest of her career. She did have her number taken down last time, which is why her numbers are 10 starts, 8 wins, 2 seconds. It's actually 10, 9, and 1, and beat a neck. She is just unbelievable. For me, the best.
And she gets out a little bit, so the outside post is good. She kind of drifts, kind of runs a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Her head towards the rail, and she likes to get out.
She's going to appreciate being on the outside of everybody.
Outside's good for her.
And as you mentioned, I mean, Valladori looks like the one to go, so she could sit just off her, and if that...
It's perfect 2-wide trip.
If that helps...
No excuses.
If it works out like that, it's going to be tough to see Monomoy Girl getting beat. And as well, her record at Churchill, 3 wins, 2...
Yeah. Record anywhere.
3 starts, exactly, her record, period. But she's run well at Churchill in the past. Monomoy Girl, I put Midnight Basoo, it's those two, Abel Tasman and Midnight Basoo. I put Midnight Basoo in second spot because, as we mentioned, Abel Tasman scared me last time with just not showing up. That's not the kind of race you like to see a top filly have going into the Breeders' Cup. So I got Midnight Basoo, who did actually get moved up, as Mike mentioned, over Monomoy Girl last time, in the second spot, and Abel Tasman third spot. 11, 7, and 2 for me. And a very interesting Distaff. On the 10th, the 1.5-mile turf. Classic tough race here. And
$4 million purse. They've upped this one. This one's gone up every year.
This one has gone way up, and I'm going down near the rail to the 2-horse, the filly, Enable. 10 starts, 9 wins. Just been setting the world on fire over there in England. Broker Maiden. third in her second start of her life and has not been beat since then, and winning by 5. Just won the Arc de Triomphe by a neck, but that is the Arc de Triomphe. Yeah. That's going 1.5 miles. All these races are 1.5 miles, and she's winning them all. She's proven at the distance. I've been watching her. Yeah, I've been watching her train at Churchill this week. They have some great programs on TVG and that, and Enable looks very good. John Gosden, Frankie Dettori, could be a single for me in my pick 4. Enable over, who did I put in second? The 3, Channel Maker for Bill Mott. Just one going 1.5 miles in the Turf Classic at Belmont. Bill Mott's no stranger to these big days. This is a well-bred son of English Channel. That's all turf there. And yeah, he's made over $1 million. And I just like to see a horse that's coming in. His last 3 races have been very good. Won a grade 2 at Saratoga, second in the Sword Dancer behind Glorious Empire, then came back and won, beating a couple of these in the race at Belmont. And soft footing again, but just I like horses that are coming into the Breeders' Cup, off wins and going the right way. He's actually an Ontario bred. Channel Maker, and third spot, my man Aidan O'Brien. I can't let him get away clean. 3-year-old daughter of Galileo, coming off a win in a Group 1, going 1.5 miles over the soft footing at Ascot. Ryan Moore aboard. A lot to like about Magical, but I don't think they beat Enable. I went 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah, I went to the 12-horse Waldgeist.
You're trying to beat her.
Well, he was unlucky not to beat her last time. This colt had his 4-race winning streak snapped, and did encounter some trouble in the race, and which it happens in races that have 19 horses in them. And Pierre Boudot, I don't know much about this rider, but he obviously gets along with the son of Galileo, and the 1.5 miles isn't going to be a problem. No. He's just a nice horse. Andre Fabre's won Breeders' Cup races before, and he's not going to be a big price. It's 9-2 in the morning line. He would be the next choice behind Enable, and I thought those are the 2. I put the 5 Magical in for Aidan O'Brien in the second spot. A good run last time in the another Group 1 race at Ascot. It was just a couple of weeks ago, but over soft turf, which probably it might be, and Enable looks like she runs over anything. I've got her in the mix as well. One other horse I wanted to touch on was the 10 High Happy. If the track somehow gets a little firmer, I thought this horse would have a shot. But with it getting a little soft, this horse's worst races are when there's some give in the ground. The Europeans should dominate.
Toughen him.
I went 12, 5, and 2, but they're all interchangeable. Those, like, it could be 2, 5, 12, or whatever. But I went 12, 5, 2 in the 1.5 mile Breeders' Cup Turf. On to the 11th and final, not the final race on the card, but it is the final Breeders' Cup race. Yeah. There is a 12th race. I think it's the Chiluki Stakes.
Yeah,
but we have the Classic here. $6 million, 1.25 miles. Got 14 of them set to go. I see some speed in here. I just see McKinsey going. I see West Coast being near the lead. Definitely Mendelssohn will be put to the test early. I really like the 4-horse Gunavera. I don't maybe really like it is strong. I just think this horse has a really good chance. It was really compromised in the Woodward with a wide trip. Edgar Zayas to Irad Ortiz is just a night and day rider change. This horse was one of the top 3-year-olds last year, and he ran in the Breeders' Cup, behind the Classic last year behind Gunrunner, but he was at the end of a long campaign. They kept him going. They ended up going to Dubai, and then they finally freshened him up, and he's come back with a nice win against very modest company at Gulfstream. But then the race at Saratoga, I thought, was really, really impressive. I just think Gunavera is going to be a great price with a good chance of hitting the board. I put the 3-horse Catholic Boy in for second. Won the Travers. He's a horse that can be close to the lead. If the pace is fast, he can drift back a little bit. He's proven to be every bit as good a dirt horse as he has been a turf horse. He's just a nice horse, and Javier Castellano re-rides for Jonathan Thomas, a young trainer, making a big splash. But I thought that horse was interesting. And the 14-horse Accelerate from California, not beating much in those races. He continues to break slowly, which is the only reason I did not take this horse on top.
About that,
he breaks tardy. He breaks a link slow. It's not costing him in those races against lesser competition. I mean, no, lesser is wrong, unfair with West Coast and Pavel, but I mean, just smaller fields. if he breaks slow in here, he's going to be laying 11th.
Yeah,
and try and win from 11th, not on your home track, and that's going to be a little difficult.
And it is different when you're going from, you know, I don't care if it's a Pacific Classic. When you go to the Breeders' Cup Classic, you need to have everything go your way, no matter who you are.
But I thought Gunnevera's going. I mean, Mendelssohn's going to ensure a good pace. For whatever reason, they seem to think this Mendelssohn needs the lead, and they just ride him the hair off him every time he, like 45 and 3, 109. I mean, I wouldn't take anyone out of that Jockey Club Gold Cup other than Mendelssohn. Both Discreet Lover and Thunder Snow had dead aim on this pace that was this wicked pace that Mendelssohn was setting with another horse, and Mendelssohn was still there at the end, which was really impressive. But I thought Mendelssohn was, you know, if left alone, could be a chance. But I think it's going to be a fast pace. I like the closer, Gunnevera, Catholic Boy. I like Gunnevera over Yoshida, just because Yoshida had a really good trip last time. Gunnevera did not, and a big rider change. And that was the reason I did go 4 instead of the 10. But I went 4, 3, and 14, which is a need to have a classic with a lot of chances.
Yeah.
It's usually like, whatever, it's like American Pharaoh, it's usually like
Gunrunner,
Arrogant or whatever, you know, there's some,
Gunrunner
it's just always a standout, but not this year.
I went to a horse, this horse is 21 morning line. I cannot see this horse being 21. I went to the 2 Roaring Lion for John Gosden, Oscar Murphy. This horse has won 4 Group 1s in a row in Europe, going 1 1/4, 1 5/16, 1 1/4, and last time a mile. He comes from just off the pace, about mid-pack. Another one that's, you know, used to big fields, but just, he's a kitten's joy. It's all about, you know, translating to dirt. He has won on a poly track before at Kempton, but if he can translate to the dirt, I mean, you get a horse, you get a European horse that's coming over here winning 4 Group 1s in a row. In this kind of year where, as you mentioned, there isn't a major standout, I think Roaring Lion is in here with a big shot. And I can't see him being 21. I could see him being 5 or 6 to 1. I just can't see a European that's won 4 in a row, all Group 1 races, 8 for 12 lifetime, and made 3.5 million. Coming over here and being 20 to 1 in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I think he's going to be a lower price, but he's the horse I like a lot in here. Roaring Lion for me, over Accelerate, who's probably going to end up as your favorite. Been stomping all over everybody out in California.
Yeah, crushed him. Even with, like I said, tardy beginnings.
Yeah, Pacific Classic won by 12, got 115 buyer. He looks to be, like, of the American horses, he's going to be the favorite. I think he'll be the favorite in the race, but he looks to be the tough one for me of the American horses. I put him in for second. And I put Mind Your Biscuits. I don't want to leave this horse out. He's such a cool horse. He wins at every distance. I thought his race in Dubai, the Golden Sahin, going 6 furlongs, was by far the most impressive race for me on Dubai World Cup Day this year, because everything on the pace was winning, and nobody could make up any ground, and he made up a lot of ground to catch XY Jet and Roy H, and I Mind Your Biscuits. Just one going 1 1/8 at Churchill over this track. He's 1 for 1 at Churchill. Just a really cool.
Yeah, nice horse. He might be distance challenged, like 1 1/8.
I would have
had trouble with him getting 1 1/8, but he got a nice pace scenario last time. But still, that's the only problem. My problem with him is that he might be distance challenged. If he can handle 1 1/4, he's as classy. He's as good as these horses.
Because he's more, exactly. Because he can sprint, but he can go long. And distance is a question, but I didn't want to leave him off just because he's such a cool horse, and coming off a nice win, getting 108 buyer last time. So I threw him in my third spot. 2, 14, and 11 for this year's renewal of the BC Cup Classic.
A lot of trees went down.
Yeah, need some Tylenol after that. Jeez. That'll do it for our selections, or our analysis. Up next on screen will be our selections. Mike, as always.
There we go. Back in race number 1, I did go to the 8 horse. Mia Mischief. Going to go 8, 14, and 13. Actually, race number 3 on the card. The second Breeders' Cup race 4. I went to the 11, World of Trouble. Going to go 11, 14, 13. Race number 5, went to the 10, Catalina Cruiser, likely favorite. Going to go 10, 7, 1. Race number 6, went to the 3, Wild Illusion over the 1, 4-Star Crook, and the 6, Sister Charlie. Race number 7, the Sprint. I went to the 2, Promises Fulfilled over the 5, Imperial Hint, and the 9, Roy H. Race number 8, the Turf Mile, went to the 13, Gustav Klimt, going to go 13, 5, and 7. Race number 9, the Distaff, going to go to the 11, Monomoy Girl, your favorite, 11, 2, and 7. Race number 10, I went to the 12, Waldgeist over the 2 and 5. And race number 11, I went to the 4, Gunnevera over the 3, Catholic Boy, and the 14, Accelerate.
On to my picks, there we go. Back in the third race, first Breeders' Cup race, I went to the Bob Baffert runner, 13, Marley's Freedom over the 1 and the 8. In the fourth, I went to the 5, Disco Partner over the 7 and the 9. In the fifth, I agree with Mike. Catalina Cruz looks very tough over the 1 and the 6. In the 6th, I went to the 10. my man Aidan O'Brien. Magic Wand over the 6 and the 3. In the 7th, I went to the tough old horse, number 9, Roy H. In the sprint over the 2 and the 5. In the 8th, back to Aidan O'Brien, number 8, I Can Fly over the 1 and the 2. In the 9th, the Distaff. Gotta love her. Number 11, Monomoy Girl over the 7 Midnight Bazoo and the 2 Able Tasman. In the 10th, I love number 2, Enable, the 1.5 mile turf, the filly, over the 3 and the 5. And in the nightcap, I'm going for John Gosden to win the late double here. Number 2, Roaring Lion. I really like this horse. Roaring Lion over the 14 and the 11.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Handicapper's Corner, the special Breeders' Cup edition. Don't forget the handicapping contest this week is on Friday. November the 2nd.
Yeah.
It will be returned to the Saturdays the following week, Saturday the 10th.
And it's early, too, because we're doing the whole Churchill card on Friday. We've sold out for Saturday, but we do have some room left on Friday. The handicapping contest starts at 10 o'clock in the morning because we're going right for the first at Churchill, so it does start early. As Mike mentioned, all through the winter, we start next Saturday. A contest here at the Derby Barn Grill usually starts about noon every Saturday, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. On behalf of Drew, thanks everyone for tuning in. Good luck and enjoy Breeders' Cup 35.
I got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's a guy that says if the weather's clear, can do